Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark. We're in Mark chapter 16. We're going to be starting verse 9 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, thy words were found, and I did eat them. And thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, verses 9 to 11 are dealing with Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene, right? Jesus is appearing now to Mary Magdalene. Now, verse 9 states, now when Jesus had risen early in the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. Now, isn't it interesting that Jesus' first bodily appearance after the resurrection was to a woman? In John chapter 20, verses 11, let's read John 20, verses 11 to 20. And it says here, but Mary stood without, and the sepulchre weeping, and as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and she sees 2 angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. And they say unto her, Woman, why are you weeping? And she said unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back, and she saw Jesus standing, but she didn't know it was Jesus. And Jesus said unto her, Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking? And she, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if you have borne him hence, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away. Jesus said unto her, Mary. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Jesus said unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend to my Father and to your Father, and to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things unto her. Then the same day at evening, beginning at the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst, and said unto them, Peace be unto you. And when he had said so, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. Now, it seems that after the women told the disciples to go to Galilee in order to see Jesus, that Mary must have returned to the tomb. The 2 angels were still there. And of course, now Jesus appears also. Jesus was revealed to Mary when he called her by her name. My sheep hear my voice, Jesus said, right? Jesus had probably said her name many times, and she knew his voice. What does Isaiah 43 verse 1 say? But now, thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. I'm sure Mary had heard Jesus' voice many times in her lifetime. And when all he had to do was say Mary, she recognized that voice. It was a woman who first transgressed God's commandment in the garden. Let her be first to see the victory over that transgression. It first happened in a garden. And let her first see the great gardener, who is the first fruit of our salvation. Yep, it was Eve who first transgressed. Let it be a woman, Mary Magdalene, who first sees the Lord. Not a man, but a woman. Verse 10. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and as they wept. There will be times when you will be called to go to believers who mourn because of temporary doubt and insecurity, and to testify of what you have seen of Christ. You know, there's times in our life when we're called to be a comfort to those believers who enter into times of doubt, times of temptation, times of hard times where they maybe are a little bit angry with God, and their hearts are departing from church, departing from the Bible study, departing from prayer, departing from these things, and their hearts are mourning. And they're crying out, and God sends us there to be a witness, to encourage them in what we have seen and how God has saved our life, how God has what the work that God has done in our life, he can do it in theirs. Mary Magdalene and the other women are the first recorded human preachers of the gospel. Mary Magdalene and these women are the first recorded preachers of the gospel, the good news. It's not a man. Sin came into the world through a woman. Let women be the first preachers of this gospel. All they did was tell what they saw and what they heard. And this is all that we are to do. We are not to speak with enticing words of men's wisdom in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 4. Don't speak with the don't go to a Bible study and say, boy, I'm so glad they're here to listen to me, right? Or go preach in some church. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, what a great crowd. They're going to be amazed with what I say. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're there to meet Christ. They're there to meet Christ. Only speak what you have seen and heard. We get into trouble when we add or take away from the gospel. We get into trouble when we start adding in our own sinfulness, our own human desire, their own lust for a pat on the back. No, only speak what you've seen and heard. Let God do the rest. Let the Holy Spirit do the rest. Let the Holy Spirit take what you speak and minister it to people's hearts. Verse 11, and they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, they believed not. Right? They believed not. You know, we expect this with the unsaved. We expect unbelievers not to believe. Their minds are blinded. It's hardened and not enlightened. But we don't expect this from people who are called children of the faith. We don't expect, you don't expect Christians to be unbelievers. Faith means belief without sight. And yet believers can exhibit unbelief at times. They can enter into a state of show me. I need to see it. Right? Sometimes believers enter into that. You have to show me God. I need to see it. God is not going to visually appear to people today as he did with the disciples. But if we exercise faith, we will begin to see the workings of God all around us. Listen, if we exercise faith and trust in God, you'll see God in the details of life working all around you. In Jeremiah 29, verse 13, and ye shall seek me and find me when you shall search for me with all your heart. Psalm 27, verse 8, when you said, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Lord, will I seek. That's right. We need to be men and women of faith, not men and women of sight. We need to be men and women who see God by faith. We see God in the rain. We see God in the flowers. We see God in people around us working and moving. The disciples wanted absolute proof before they would believe. This can be good, but it also can be bad when God does not appeal to their faith, but they still do not see it. It can be, we can look at this and we can say, they wanted proof. They didn't believe. They wanted to see the Lord. But God is not going to give in to our fleshly desire. He wants us to exercise faith. Hebrews 11:1. It is Hebrews 11:6, right? It is only faith that pleases God. We're going to get into verse 12 next lesson. But until then, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.